The first part of your book is really powerful and very difficult to read because you talk about something that is not often covered. And you found, hey, this isn't just girls who are victimized. Boys are victimized too. And unless and until we start talking about that, we're not going to get too far.
Yeah, this was one of the most shocking and sort of profoundly transformative findings of my research, just for me, because, you're right. We often talk about sexual violence as if it's something that happens to girls and women only. And certainly it does happen to girls and women, and disproportionately so, but it happens way too often to boys and men as well. And I think, it's hidden, and it's hidden for a lot of reasons. One is that all of the stereotypes that exist about boys, that they're supposed to be tough and they're supposed to be dominant, and they're never supposed to show weakness. I mean, all of those things make it so hard for a boy.
And they're supposed to want sex.
Yes.
That's another huge factor that comes into play. Like, how could that be assault? Because come on, you were lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there are just so many. I mean, the FBI, I wrote in the book, the FBI didn't even have a definition for rape that could possibly include men until 2012.
2012, people. Like 2012, that was not long ago at all, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of baked in things in our culture and in our media and in our institutions, right, that make it hard to recognize that part of boys' experiences in the world.
I think we have to go there. I think you have to give us an example. What are you talking about? And I think we have to put a trigger warning in the beginning of this episode, because this is really troubling stuff. You talked about sports teams. So what's going on? And this place that I think the thing for me that was shocking reading it is it's like, it's accepted in that, like, if you're on a sports team as a freshman, this is what happens. And then you move up to sophomore, and then you get to observe. And then maybe as junior, then you're part of the hazing or part of the assault. Let's call it what it is. And it's accepted and it's not talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to preface this by saying, I think that we think about boys being sexually assaulted or raped in the context of like the Catholic Church scandal or Boy Scouts scandal, adult men preying on younger boys. And that is only one slice of what we're talking about when we talk about boy sexual victimization, right? So boys can be assaulted, or they can be assaulted by girls, and they can be assaulted by other boys. And so I wrote about a couple of examples in the book about boys being sexually assaulted or raped in the context of their sports teams. And I'm avoiding using the word hazing because I think, as Adele Kimmel, who's a lawyer who represented one of these boys, said that hazing tends to sort of minimize what we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. So in one case, I'll give one example. Actually, I'll give two examples because they show different things. A high school freshman on the varsity basketball team, so you can imagine the power dynamics there, went away on a tournament a couple hours from their homes. This is in Tennessee. And the team stayed in a cabin together, and the older boys were basically serially attacking the freshmen on the team. They were ramming a pool cue into the boys' anuses, one after the other. And so this boy, who I call Martin in the book, he knew this was happening to other boys, and he really wanted to call his mom and tell her what was about to happen to him because he was afraid. And he said in a court deposition, he said, I tried to tell her, I just didn't know how to say it. And what ended up happening was it did happen to him. These older boys pulled him onto a bed, and they really seriously injured him to the point that he had to go to the hospital and have emergency surgery. And the detective who worked on the case, I mean, the boys who were involved as perpetrators were ultimately charged with rape or assisting the rape in some way. But the detective who was involved sort of questioned whether this could really be sexual assault because it wasn't really sexual. And I think that gets at this question of like, what is sexual assault and what is it when it happens to boys? Well, this was really, as the young man involved, Martin, said to a lawyer who was questioning him, it was about power. It was about the older boys showing who was in charge and humiliating the younger boys in the most, dramatic, profane, and terrible way.